What is up, guys? I do hope you're well, and welcome back to another episode from the Daddy Cringe subreddit. If you do want your story shared, post it on the Daddy Cringe subreddit and get involved. We would love to have you there. And with that being said, let's get straight into it. Much love, guys. So this story is from The Pink Slime. Thank you very much. Military equipment isn't for entitled brats. I've been watching Daddy Cringe for a bit now and wanted to share this unorthodox encounter with an entitled mum and her son. Just for background, I'm a gunner's mate in the Navy, meaning I handle ammo and various weapons. Now, the crew on board ships are allowed to have spent casings when we shoot the guns, because they know the proper way to remove serial numbers and identify and marks from the casings. Sometimes we give these to close family and friends after the marks have been obliterated. I had a spent casing from a 5-inch gun, which is a rather large casing, that I saved for the son of a family friend. He was an absolutely amazing behaved 10-year-old who had a keen interest in naval gunnery. I was in the process of transferring the casing into their SUV in the parking lot of a fast food place, while the family friends got something to eat for all of us. I'm minding my own business when a lady in her 30s and a young child come over. I thought that maybe her son was going to ask me some questions, as kids often do. I was very wrong. "What do you think you're doing?" Excuse me? "Is that a bomb? That's illegal." So I gotta stop there. What stupid parent would go up to someone who thinks they're putting a bomb in the back of the car and go, "Is that a bomb?" What a moron. No, this is a spent casing from a naval gun. I should clarify at this point, spent casings are very obviously not the same as live ammunition, and are allowed to be owned as long as the identifying marks are destroyed. Because the average Karen doesn't know how to do this, we generally have an unspoken rule about who we give the casing to, and they never leave the hands of GMs without the markings being obliterated. You shouldn't be giving people such things. Here, let me take it. My son knows a lot about military stuff. He knows how to handle it. Listen, lady, I'm not giving you or your son this casing. I really doubt your 5-year-old knows how to handle anything of fucking importance. At this point, I'm done with this incredulous situation. This lady's ridiculous. Even if she thought it was remotely dangerous, why would she even think about trying to get it for a young child? That's my point. I just locked my friend's trunk and head into the restaurant to go eat. While I'm sitting down and eating, I watch this lady go into the restaurant and start complaining about me to the manager, jabbing her finger in my direction. I found out later after I eat, the lady was trying to report me for a bomb threat. Luckily for me, the manager had been on a smoke break and seen that I had a casing. Being prior military staff, he just ended up laughing at this lady until she left. That's it. I know it's not very exciting and no police were called. If it makes it better, I probably just cussed her out a bit. But honestly, I don't remember when I swear, because it's just something I do without thinking. As I said, I love these type of stories though, because they're not over dramatic. No one was shooting each other. There was no bomb. It was just a typical Karen mistaking something and thinking she's better than everyone else and knows more than everyone else, and just tried fucking taking something for free. And fair play to you for just ignoring her, even though she went to a manager and made herself look a tit. Fair play, and thank you for sharing the story. This story is from Parker Hall 0310. Thank you very much. Entitled Aunt and Cousin Cut Ties Over a Baby Name. So I posted before about my aunt and cousin moving away. Well, a few weeks ago, it all kicked off. Context: my sister gave birth to a beautiful baby boy less than a month ago. So in this story, we'll have the following cast. EA, entitled Aunt. C, Cousin, who I can't decide whether is entitled, so you get to decide. U, poor uncle with hellspawn. M, my mother who is a saint. S, sister who just had a baby. So my sister had a terrible boyfriend, so naming the baby was hard since they both couldn't decide on a name. But after many arguments, they decided to call him Robert. Little Robert was adorable, and my sister decided to share a photo of him online with his name. Well, my cousin is called Robert. When he saw this post, he made a sarcastic remark. I don't know, along the lines of, "I am called Robert. It's like sister is getting rid of me." Now, my entitled aunt didn't like the fact that my sister had chosen that name for the baby and demanded she change it. My sister wouldn't budge. Now, my uncle posted a comment on the post saying congratulations, but that got taken down by, I'm guessing, the work of EA, and now have cut contact with most of the family who agree with my sister's choice on the name of the baby. Entitled aunt even tried to rename the baby to some horrible names that weren't as good, but now we haven't heard from the family since. My personal view on the situation: the baby has a good name, and it doesn't mean no one in the family shouldn't have the name. Oh, that's so ridiculous. You know, most people are honoured when they get a baby sort of with the same name, but it's like, oh, they named it after me. You know, if someone named the baby Daddy Cringe, I'd be well happy with that. Oh, laughing at myself. I'm great. So this next story is from Crackgirl124. Entitled Neighbour thinks our chickens are just chickens. I'm flipping pissed at this dude, and justice still hasn't been served. Backstory, for 5 years my family has been raising chickens. They were sorted by generation since so many have died. We had one chicken for a first generation, we had no more second generation chicks, as the last one died from being egg bound. You can ask me about what it means if you're curious. I am curious, so someone tell me in the comments please. 3 third generation chicks and 6 fourth generation chicks. My neighbour has a husky that he sets loose in the neighbourhood all the time and doesn't care about what he does. Cast, Papa P, Angry Dad AD, me/K, entitled Piece of Crap Neighbour EN, Good Neighbour GN. Story, so in the month of March my parents went to the Bahamas and me and my little brother went to our grandparents, and our neighbour GN will be taking care of our chickens for the week. It was Sunday after church, we were waiting for my nana to walk out when my papa tells us this. Kids, your neighbour just called. His dog and Ian's dog are under the fence and killed all your chickens. GN cleaned up the mess and has apologised heavily. I wailed loudly as I saw those chickens as my babies and I cried the entire day. A week later, Ian came round right as we were pulling out of our driveway and he walked up to the driver's seat where my dad was sitting. Hey John, I'm sorry about your chickens. It was tragic. Thank goodness they were just chickens then. My dad wanted so hard to run him over. Excuse me? They were just chickens, so no harm done. No harm done? No harm done? Do you have any idea what your dog has done? Those chickens were our pets, and if I was home, I'd have shot the dang thing. You actually can do that where I live if the animal is trespassing and doing damage to your property. Along with dead chickens, our fence was heavily bent. You cannot say they were just chickens. Not only were they our pets, they were part of my daughter's project for her school. Side note, I take GTI classes, and I was doing an AET, Agricultural Experience Tracker, and my project for the year was my chickens. I needed a certain amount of journal entries to pass the class. My dad continued yelling at him for a good 20 minutes while I put my headphones in and played FNAF music to calm down, since I was having a better day until I heard what Ian said. After my dad yelled at him, Ian said he would pay us back for the damage his dog has caused and that he would keep his dog in his yard. Results? His property is in horrible condition due to neglect, so he has to pay for that. We still haven't gotten the money. And his dog has gotten out 2 more times. But we got a dozen new chickens a month ago. They are my angels and no one will hurt them. Edit. Here's a link to my new babies. Lovely chickens. That is absolutely... Just for someone like... When anyone looks after a pet, I always automatically assume that they love them and they want to take care of them. And then for someone to just, like, their dog killed them and then to go up to them and say, no harm done. Yeah, no harm done. Your fucking pet's just been killed. Jeez, man. You automatically, I can understand your dad's reaction that he'd want to get out and just basically strangle the guy. But thank you very much for sharing that story, and I'm so sorry about your chickens. I hope you're enjoying your new ones, and they're all in good health. And we have a story from Lavender Sandwater. Thank you, as always. Uncle doesn't know how to take care of his kids and blames me for their behaviour. I already posted this before, but I figure this will work fine here. Long time watcher. EK1, entitled Kid 1. This is going to start off with a lot of context, even though it's a fairly small story. I'm a female, I was around 8 or 9 at the time, around 7 years ago. And at the time, I originally lived in Missouri, but I was staying 6 months with my grandparents. My dad needed mental help and was staying at his mum's house, while my brother and I stayed at my other grandmother's for 3 months. After the 3, we'd go back and live with my dad's parents. After that, we'd go back to MO. And at the time of this, I was living at my dad's mum's house. While we were there, my uncle, his second set of kids, 2 boys very young, like 5, EK1, and 2, and his girlfriend. They were the epitome of entitled parents. I mean, for fuck's sake, they were pretty much living at my grandma's house for free while he did crack and kept getting his girlfriends knocked up. And there's also 2 stories. One before we went on vacation with my grandparents, uncle, brother, uncle's girlfriend and his kids, and my dad, and after. Now, story 1. My dad, my brother and I were about to leave for some reason. It's been a while, it's kind of fuzzy, I was looking out the screen door, and for some reason my uncle's kids, EK1, runs out the door. My uncle decides that instead of running after his kids in the ghetto, he would scream at me for not watching his kid correctly and getting him back inside. I shit you not, my dad almost beat the fuck out of him. They were screaming and yelling, and my dad told me and my brother to get in the car, lock it, and let no one but my dad inside. Well, after about 10 minutes of my dad saying, "You ever talk to Beatrice," me, hi, again, I will have no problem beating your ass. My dad was in his 30s and my uncle was in his 40s, and he was still willing to do that. Yay, my dad. After some time, my uncle comes out like, "I'm so sorry, Beatrice, I wasn't thinking right, I shouldn't have yelled," and because I was sensitive, I forgave him, to my dad's surprise. Second story, we'd just gotten home from vacation, and we're going to be leaving in like a week, so my grandma was giving us stuff for home. She's one of those types of grandmas. Oh, I love those types of grandmas. One of them I remember being a jar of peanut butter. I'd forgotten that was for us, so I handed it to EK1 for a second. While packing my bag, I always pre-pack, and while I was doing that, my dad was standing near me. My uncle was in the hallway and my grandma was in her room across the hallway. My dad informed me that the peanut butter was in fact ours. So I asked EK1 for the nut syrup back and he screams, "No!" I'm like, "Okay, but it's ours." So I put my hand on it and grab it back. All seems fine until whack. I was hit hard as possible with one of those pool things that suck water and shoot, i.e. hard ass plastic, hurts like hell. I, being 9 years old, start crying and say ow. Turns out that EK1 was pissed that the nut butter wasn't his, so he took actions into his hands and grabbed the nearest weapon. My dad, being protective, grabs EK1's hand and says, calmly but firmly, "You do that one more time and I'll break your hand." Not the most mature of statements, but well deserved. And my uncle walks, almost happy with what happened, into grandmother's room and goes, "Oh, look at Danny." My dad, hi, going mental again. This pissed my dad off because 1, he's making fun of the fact that my dad has severe mental issues, and 2, he's just gossiping instead of actually doing something. My dad walks into grandma's room and says, "Uncle leaves or I leave." She kind of shrugs my dad away, and my dad tells me and my brother to pack up our shit and that we are leaving today. My grandma starts complaining that he's taken their grandkids away and that it's your dad's fault, which makes us pack quicker. We ended up leaving for Missouri and Baltimore that night. My grandma ended up moving to Florida a while later, and guess what? The moochers moved down there not too long after. Oh my word. That sounds absolute... It sounds... I mean this in the nicest possible way. That sounds like a house of chaos, man. Like the uncle is taking the piss and your dad obviously having some mental issues, obviously gets mad. Your uncle's obviously playing on that and knowing what triggers him to trigger him basically. But yeah, I think you're probably best off getting out of there and doing your own thing. It's a shame your grandma isn't going to get to see you. I don't know whether she does still see you. Let me know in the comments below because that'd be really interesting. Because it's always a shame that when grandparents don't get to see like their grandchildren, because you know what grandmas are like. They love grandkids. Thanks again for sharing that story. Or those stories.